Don't waste your time on those junkyard losers. This country was built on genocide and slavery. We killed all the black guys that were here, and then we shipped in new black guys of our own. Killed all the black guys that were here. Killed all the black guys that were here.
Killed all the black guys that were here, and then we shipped in new black guys of our own.
And then we brought in Jesus like a bar of soap.
Let's go.
You know it. I am the religious correspondent. Fuck off with your Jesus beliefs. If the Bible's God's book, why didn't he give it to everyone?
Aloha. This video I wanted to address the political perspective and how it's expanded by Hollywood, how it's one and the same with the government, the university system, politics, and so on and so forth. And these talk show hosts, Bill Maher being one of the main ones, if not the main one if you ask me. He's been on TV for a couple decades, I think. And this video pretty much sums up how the alchemy of this system is designed. He's the most arrogant, ignorant individual in Hollywood. He has a show, and basically his entire show is the design of what Hollywood and the mainstream news does overall. It creates an idea, it creates its artificial fan base, it creates generated laughter and generated applause and generated emotion. That's all scripted. It's a script, so they're making you feel a certain way, they're making you act a certain way. Within the infrastructure of the entire system is they're dumbing you down and distracting you from the deeper layers of programming. Like I said in previous videos about all the World War II movies that are out there, all the war movies that are focusing on, and not even only war movies, but the movies that focus on the Jewish genocide, that whole. There's another movie coming out I just saw in the previews for The Founder yesterday. There's another Holocaust movie coming out. So every year, just as much as there's an intention with playing these slave movies about the Aboriginal Americans or so-called black people, they want to condition you with that slave mentality. At the same time, they want to condition you to look at one version of reality, and not so much just to only empower that and look at that and feel a certain way about that, but to also to distract you from another thing. The reason why there is so much focus on the Jewish Holocaust and the Hitler program, never addressing the fact that the United States and Great Britain was playing both sides of those wars. But the point being is that there's so much focus on that, like I said in the previous videos, the bad guy programming. Because if you focus on the bad guy of Hitler and Stalin, then you won't focus on the system overall. You won't focus on what's happening with the experience as a whole. Not only that, is that if you focus so much on the bad guy, you are creating artificial superheroes. So you have this prefabricated superhero of the United States, Captain America, same thing, punching Hitler in the face, and that whole, it's a mentality. So this design it has many layers, and these TV shows and these talk show hosts and these arrogant pieces of shit like Bill Maher, they rehash these old stories and these old programs from an updated perspective. So he's going to speak on so-called race relations or political perspectives today in reference to Hollywood and Democrats and Republicans, only really to set the tone for his non-politically correct, real-time, real perspective ideas. So like politically correct is like the bad guy for what's like real American thought patterns, or real like stop being so sensitive. So that's just another prefabricated thing that's added to the Democrats, and that helps the Republicans look a certain way, or just pretty much helps the whole dialogue, because they ultimately don't give a shit about the politics. This is all about distraction. So back to the main thing about the Holocaust. The main reason why there's so much focus on World War II and the Holocaust programming is because if you focus on that, not only does it create those artificial superheroes, but you won't focus on what the United States, those superheroes, and the British Empire, the colonial program, you won't realize the actual 100 to 1,000 times more genocidal Holocaust that is that of the Aboriginal Americans. You focus so much on the Holocaust, the Jewish Holocaust, that you will never even challenge the colonial system as a whole, because you've been emotionally triggered for so many years with all these movies, with your history books, with your cartoons even, your TV shows, your political storylines, and so on and so forth, that get rehashed every single day. These talk shows are every single day. So the main focus I want to create for this video is to realize that the intention behind having so many Holocaust movies, because the Jewish people own Hollywood. This is a protection program. They want to make you fight. It's designed to make you hate certain people, love certain people, and distract you overall from everything, and just pay into the system. It's not just one bad guy that's existing throughout this entire system. This is a very intricate system. So yeah, I'll just play this so you can see how this arrogant individual plays this program. And he's going to mention the Washington Redskins, and he's going to say, and this is another way that they use this programming to make you just kind of like wash this stuff aside and say, well, this is how you should think. This is them literally creating history, creating the history books, creating your thought pattern. So when he takes these approaches, like he's going to say 9 out of 10 Native Americans don't care about the Washington Redskins logo. Well, that's not even the fucking point. The point is that logo, that sports team, it represents something that is inhumane. So they use these poll numbers and these fake ass whatever kind of polls that they take and say, well, since this exists, then this must be the reality, so let it go, politically correct people. And they just rewrite history. Like I said in the last video, everything is being co-opted, and he even defends it in this video literally by saying, this is a melting pot. Why don't you just realize that stealing other people's culture is the way you do it, okay? Like, this is how he talks. And he has his audience to back that up. And they're just going to clap and do all that hooting and hollering just because they've been paid to do that. And they don't give a shit. They're just going to follow whatever Hollywood says. So Bill Maher, in my opinion, is he's the biggest piece of shit on television. That's including Donald Trump. Donald Trump is he's just a piece of shit, and he might not know it, but he doesn't really completely know it. Bill Maher knows he's a piece of shit. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's been doing it for decades, He knows this is why he has to have that fake ass audience, and he has to have those smug little looks looking into the crowd. He has to make the people on his panel act and talk a certain way. He has to make his audience respond a certain way. And that's when you know how sad this individual is and how far they have to go in order to make you think a certain way. So my approach to this whole Washington Redskins thing is, I don't necessarily really give a shit about their fake testing or polls or whatever they said about like the 9 out of 10 Native Americans. Like, where did you even get that shit? Where they don't care about the Washington Redskins and so on and so the logo. First of all, that's not the point. Second of all, it inherently washes over the Aboriginal American, the so-called black race. The Aboriginal Americans are not even taken into account. This is how they like keep pounding into your reality that so-called African American storyline. And it even has it in here again, talking about Justin Bieber, his tweet or something like that. But the way they use these terms that are no different than like Negro and boy and all those other words that were invented to create a particular state of mind and state of consciousness through an entire mass of people, not only in the United States but across the earth plane. This individual is one of the biggest megaphones out there that makes people think and act a certain way that is based upon self-destruction and self-implosion, based upon these illusions of this supremacy, superiority, master race agenda. So all of your award shows, all of your History Channel, National Geographic, the Discovery Channel, the mind controls that happen with enforcing the heliocentric model, and even on this new show, I don't know if you can see it. He's got a new stage now, or whatever his show is now. They redid this season, and there's a giant globe in the background, so you can see this is all a mind control program, and these assholes are kings and queens of the illusory world, the colonial universe. And the way they make you believe into that reality is to reinforce these mind control programs into your reality. And then you just believe it because there's nothing else to even be aware of. So I'll play it, and then you can see how this slimy, sleazy piece of shit, this greasy ass, makeup covered asshole is just reinforcing the superiority complex and dumbing down the stories that are well known largely across the so-called conscious community. These are people like Bill Maher's TV show, Late Night, the Late Night Show, Colbert, Jimmy Fallon, Samantha Bee. They are trying to hold the Democrat and political mind control program. They're trying to hold that line so it makes it unapproachable. Like you can't even talk about challenging that system overall because it's making itself out to be powerful. So yeah, check this out.
And finally, new rule: while the sting of defeat is still fresh and the horrors resulting from that defeat pile up, liberals must examine all the...
Just listen to how he's speaking to you. Like, imagine having a conversation with this individual. He's speaking, it's just, you know what I'm saying, just...
reasons why we keep losing elections. Starting with Democrats have gone from the party that protects people to the party that protects feelings. From ask
like he has this he's the great, like he's speaking to you like he's your father. Like he's the Hollywood father. And he's trying to make you think like you're supposed to be thinking and act like you're supposed to be acting. Otherwise, you're just an idiot. Right? Applause? Get applause? Hit the applause button? Yeah, exactly. That's how fucking childish this is. This is an adolescent ass hole.
Not what your country can do for you to you owe me an apology. Republicans apologize
His
for
tone
nothing.
just
Democrats
his tone
for
just
everything.
smells like
Can't
shit.
we find a balance? You know, in 2016, conservatives won the White House, both houses of Congress, and almost 2/3 of governorships and state legislatures. Whereas liberals, on the other hand, caught Steve Martin calling Carrie Fisher beautiful in a tweet and made him take it down. I'm not making that up. That really happened. Here's Steve's offensive tweet. When I was a young man, Carrie Fisher was the most beautiful creature I'd ever seen.
So this is setting the tone for political correctness in order to make his style of approach the good guy. Like, so this is why political correctness is being beaten down. So just like they use religion to amp up the Scientism church, so they beat up the old religions mostly just to build up the Scientism church. People like Bill Maher and whoever else is out there throwing their ego around like that's how it's supposed to be, use like political correctness as the whatever kind of program in order to make them out to seem right, or their way of thinking is right.
Turned out to be witty and bright as well.
And comedy is another way of like fear makes you think and act a certain way. Comedy is another way to make you think and act a certain way. It's because it's playing with the emotional body, and in many ways it gets deeper because you are in an automatic agreement in that moment when you are laughing. And if everybody else is laughing around you, then they're making you agree with that thought and that form, that way of thinking.
How could you, Steve? We thought we knew you, but this? You noted her appearance first, and then that she was witty and bright. You're a monster!
This is why he has those people on his panel.
They get offended for people who themselves would not be offended. You know that whole controversy about the name Washington Redskins? They did a survey. 9 out of 10 actual Indians don't give a shit.
See? Okay. Because they did a survey, now the entire issue is now a non-issue. Because they did a survey. Ain't no different than these stupid ass polls that they say they do. So who's they? What survey is this? And who gives a shit? Because it's not at all addressing the actual intent of such a thing. It's not addressing the energy at all. But you see how he throws it out there real quick to set the tone and then go into this next string of things. Meanwhile, you never get to address the actual issue. You never address the core issue because you are caught up in this comedic distraction. And see how he holds that. He holds that quiet because he's waiting for them to clap it and to reinforce the way he's thinking. And you can see some of those people don't even want to clap because they know that who gives a fuck about a survey? We need to be addressing the issue overall, not to mention the deeper fact that it's not only the Native Americans that have a say on something like that. You're not even addressing the fact that the so-called black people or so-called African American people are the Aboriginal Americans that if they were to realize or when they were to actually empower themselves to realize that This is us. These are our people who were skinned. These are like, that's what that red skin represents. We are the ones that were genocided along with the Native Americans. It's one storyline. It's one people. But this is how this slick ass divide and conquer program works, with this distractive comedic rhetoric that is based upon amplifying the artificial ego and amplifying the superiority complex with these fake ass, like real fake surveys and polls and all this other stuff. It's ridiculous. And you can see as long as you disassemble the alchemy of how these TV shows are designed, it's easy to understand.
Why would we? Their ancestors learned firsthand that New England patriots cheat.
See, and this is all funny. They laugh at, like, and this is why they said that's why he has those people on his panel. They want to laugh these realities into your subconscious mind. So it makes it a non-issue. Not only when it makes it a non-issue, it inherently disempowers you, because now you're not even allowed to think the way you want to think, because the so-called people in power or people in charge or people in control, they're just laughing at you. They're just laughing at. So that's just another way to empower themselves with avoidance.
But that doesn't stop celebrities from groveling when they get caught playing dress-up on Halloween. Here's Hillary Duff last year. Ah! And then, of course...
See? As like, what that shit represents, you see how he hit that, because he wanted to set the tone of how you feel about this image. So he can continue talking about his fake ass perspectives and make that your reality. It's desensitizing you to the issues that are truly empowering to the people, that are deep within the real issues of this nation, of the people, the original, the indigenous, and the Aboriginal people. When they play shows like this, and they take perspectives like this is a desensitization program.
Her tweet, I'm so sorry to people I offended. It was not properly thought through, and I am truly from the bottom.
So they're not, it's deflection. So he's not talking about the issue. He's talking about these fake ass actors who are responding from the politically correct perspective, and he's beating them down. So when he beats them down and the idea of political correctness, he inherently beats down the story overall. And that's the main intention, is to beat and deflect and distract from the inherent storyline.
From my heart, sorry. Chris Hemsworth was even more beside himself with self-loathing after he attended a Lone Ranger-themed party dressed as an Indian. He wrote, I was stupidly unaware of the offense. I sincerely and unreservedly apologize to all First Nations people for this thoughtless action. I hope that in highlighting my own ignorance, I can help in some small way. Oh, for fuck's sake, you're Thor. Grow a pair.
It was the comedy plant.
You didn't offend Indians any more than you offend gays when you wear a cape and hammer guys. It was a Lone Ranger themed party. You could only be a cowboy, Indian, or a horse. Just like if you live in Wyoming.
Just study him. You'll see what he's actually saying.
Last year, Justin Timberlake tweeted that an African-American, Jesse Williams, inspired him. And again, had to apologize for the sin of giving someone a compliment. I apologize to anyone that felt I was out of turn. I have nothing but love for all of you and all of us. Oh, good, because life knows no sin greater than the one he was accused of doing, which was cultural appropriation. Cultural appropriation. That's the idea that...
See, now, see how he's setting it up, how he looks around like that? He's making it a non-issue. He's making it like this doesn't exist with his ego. And then he'll laugh it in, he'll say a joke later on and use the audience to laugh it in. But this is the same thing. It's a very intricate program. And yeah, you see what I'm saying.
White people shouldn't adopt things from other ethnic groups. How dare you mix and match cultures to produce something new? Where do you...
See, there it is. He said these words, adopt. Like the colonial people didn't go around the earth plane and genocide and massacre people. They use words like settlers and adopt instead of cultural appropriation and genocide and massacre. And then he just throws his emotions around as if this is the American way. Like this is how they stamp it into your reality. This is the supremacy program, stamping it into your reality, saying this is what America really is. This is what is real. This is how everybody should think, everybody should act. And if you don't think and act like this, then you're irrational. Something's wrong with you. You're un-American. You're politically correct. You're this, you're that, whatever it is they want to label you as. So as long as you're labeled into a box, you can be beaten down.
Think you are some kind of melting pot?
That's why you have these dead ass people, these dead robot ass people on these panels to make it more real for you. Because if it was just him on the stage, he wouldn't be on television as long as he's been. Because what he does is he's like a fucking parasite. He gets these people who are just trying to hold on to their fame or whatever it is, or be on television or whatever it is they're trying to push. And he feeds off of their emotions, their laughter, their applause, and he channels that into his own show and his own ego. And then he channels that into the viewer and all of his audience, and his audience reinforces he's a true magician. He's a real magician, and this show is alchemy. It's a true alchemical process.
You know, the majority of Americans are actually with the Democrats on the issues: raising minimum wage, sensible gun laws, path to citizenship, abortion rights, pro-environment. You name it.
So he just listed all of those things, like the majority of Americans, and then ... These are the rational thinkers. Everybody else is just a fucking idiot, and you're just whatever.
But we keep losing. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that. But the one we can immediately fix is that too often Democrats remind people of a man who has taken his balls out and put them in his wife's purse. And please, someone tweet me right now and tell me how that was somehow inappropriate, so I can tell you to go fuck yourself.
All these fake-ass celebrities who have no soul, who don't have any connections to anything out that's truly who and what they are, like at the essence of who and what they are. They are completely in this superficial mode of reality.
In Globes this month, Michael Keaton mixed up the titles of two movies that had a black cast, Hidden Figures and Fences, and said Hidden Fences because he's a Klansman.
See, it's just over. He just creates this storyline, and the issue is this stuff like this happens all the time. Stuff like this happens all the time. It's not so much about him doing that, whether it was a mistake or not. The issue is Hollywood is whitewashing every single culture, every single thing that that comes through that system. And its intention is to dumb people down and water people down, just like they label you as whatever they label you as, in order to control you, in order to beat you up, because they've sucked you into their parasitic reality. And it's the way they approach these. You can see the trend, how I've been talking about what he's been talking about. You can see the theme of this new rule called Stop Apologizing. That's the theme of this new rule, this video.
Cue the outrage, cue the retraction. I screwed up. It makes me feel so badly that people feel badly. as if nothing's wrong with what happened. As if like none of this ever existed. This dude is the worst person on television. If someone feels badly, that's all that matters. No. That's not all that matters. In fact, things like this don't matter at all. What matters is that while you self-involved fools were policing the language at the Kids' Choice Awards, a madman talked his way into the White House.
See that? See how it just stamps it into, this is coming to the end of the video. It just stamps it in like, you're the ones who did this, playing people against themselves. Because you're too sensitive, you're too politically correct, you're too this, you're too that, whatever they label, whatever they're approaching as, in order to make themselves, like I said in the beginning of this video, make themselves out to be the superhero. Bill Maher's approach to everything that he talks about is no different than the deflection and the distraction of Hollywood as a whole, and the design of building up an artificial superhero to create an artificial stream of thought that will allow people to desensitize themselves and think and act a certain way that still exists inside of a box that can be manipulated, destroyed, and led on a journey off a cliff over this zombified form of giving your power away. Lack of understanding of your culture, lack of understanding of the earth plane, the balances, the true science, the alchemy of nature, buying you into this materialistic, superficial reality, amplifying that superficial reality, and selling it to you, upgrading it every single year and selling it back to you. Meanwhile, programming your subconscious to think and act a certain way, to both empower the system and disempower you and everybody else who watches this. And don't think I'm not talking about every single other television show. Stephen Colbert is no different. Trevor Noah is no different. TYT is no different. Samantha Bee, all of the Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, every single TV show is designed to act this way, to create this sort of effect on people. And the reason why Bill Maher is not on regular television is because he is the most extreme version of how this system works against the true humanity. Because if it was seen by everybody on a regular basis, people would have him off of television. So HBO keeps him on television because it's more privatized. And the intention there is to mind control you.
What matters is that while liberals were in a contest to see who could be the first to call out fat shaming, The Tea Party has been busy taking over school boards. Stop protecting your virgin ears and start noticing you're getting fucked in the ass. Okay.
So he invites people on his show like Neil deGrasse Tyson. This is how this entire system gets reinforced by Hollywood and these television shows. He invites a Neil deGrasse Tyson and people like Bill Nye. He even had Barack Obama on last season. All these politicians, everything that's a part of the superficial synthetic reality, the colonial universe as a whole, they get invited onto these television shows, and then they reinforce the system overall. That's the design of these programs. So when you're talking about the heliocentric model, it's not only about the scientism community, it's how these programs interact. There's no separation between the government and the university system and Hollywood. It's one big ass program. That's why I said in all the previous videos, if there's so much we could be focusing on, and that's in reference to this generic ass heliocentric model, in order to share examples of what's really going on here, the alchemy of the system overall. And that's like it's a deeper way to approach this shift in consciousness, because we won't leave anything out. This is why people get caught up in those fake ass marches and protests with like the Women's March, because they believe in these activists. They believe in these Hollywood celebrities. They think that they're for the people and all that other, or leaders or some shit like that. They're not. They're no different than these Bill Maher's and Stephen Colbert's and so on and so forth. So that's pretty much what I wanted to share with this video. This was just like the most blatant, worst piece of shit that I've ever seen on Bill Maher has some jacked up shows and some jacked up perspectives, but this one was deep in reference to specifically what I've been talking about in recent videos. So this dude is the worst person on the internet, the worst person on the television. He's a piece of shit. So anyway, thank you for joining me, and until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.